Guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be discussing the games in the final week of the stage for the Call of Duty League. Yes, we are talking about the Call of Duty stage for majors that are taking place this weekend, starting on Thursday, June the 17th to the 20th. Um, this week we are going to see a lot of bangers, a lot of banger matches for the major, and we're having, uh, in some cases, teams changing, like the New York Subliners having to play without ASIM because of visa problems that he couldn't get out of Canada. So some teams are going to start looking different, like Subliners. So this major might look a little bit different at the end. So yeah, we're gonna be discussing all these games for betting purposes, specifically on Draftkings. I'm going to be going through what I think about all the prices for my favorite players and players that I think have the best value for the buck here for the Draftkings salaries. If you've stumbled upon this channel for the first time, what I basically do here is basically break down esports betting, fantasy betting, analysis, thoughts, for platforms like DraftKings and FanDuel. I will be covering multiple more esports in the near future, such as Valorant and Halo, when the new Halo drops later on this year. And yeah, with that being said, if you like the content, if you like esports, if you like betting, if you like making money, make sure to leave a like, a subscribe, and of course turn on that notification so you can get these videos as soon as they come out, because this is time sensitive information. These videos do become irrelevant as soon as the contest lock on each respective betting platform. So yeah, be quick when you watch these videos. Make sure you watch everything so you can maybe hopefully make some money off of my analysis, or just the information that I put out in the table for you to make an informed decision. So with that being said, let's get on to talk about the first game of the day, which is going to be between the London Royal Ravens against the Seattle Surge. And for all of those of you who know and watch the Call of Duty League avidly, you know that London and Seattle are the worst teams in the CDL. The two worst teams, or two dead last teams in the CDL, alongside Paris. They're the worst teams in the CDL. They've been getting wrecked left and right. The London Royal Ravens are actually coming off of a win, however, against the Los Angeles Guerrillas. So just like Vegas is inclined to believe that London Royal Ravens is a minus 130 favorite to win against the Seattle Surge, I also believe that, because based on the scoreline, you can see here 243 to 160. London Royal Ravens was smoking a team like the LA Guerrillas, which is certainly better than the Seattle Surge. Now, just because of this, I'm not saying that they're automatically gonna beat the Seattle Surge. I just do feel like they have a little bit better chemistry, and have shown that they have the capability of having a higher upside than the Seattle Surge. Yes, the Seattle Surge beat the Optic Chicago in their second and last series, but I do honestly think that was just a fluke, and I don't think it's going to repeat itself again. I really feel like the Seattle Surge team isn't really a good team. They don't really mesh together. And I don't have any faith in them, and I definitely wouldn't want to put money on them. Now, with that being said, Octane has been their best player as of late, with two 100 plus fantasy point games in the past 4 games. He has been helping them. He helped them against Optic, and they lost against Minnesota in the other game where he had 100 fantasy points. But in general, it seems like the Seattle Surge just fundamentally aren't a good team. They just, individually, they just don't post up points to meet value in their prices, and they just never win out games. It's very hard for them to win, just like series is very hard for them. So I'm inclined to believe Royal Ravens are going to take this one. I would say something like a 3-2. This is going to be a scrappy series. I don't know who to put here in any of my lineups, but if I had to guess here, I would say that Octane remains being the best player here for the Seattle Surge. I do feel like he has the highest upside. He does have the highest upside. Um, Gilmas is another player who has shown to have upside as well. He's had 300 fantasy point games in the past 5 matches. You could say Gunless has upside too, but he is fairly inconsistent himself. So if I had to pick any of the players here, it would definitely have to be either Gunless or Octane. And just for the fact that Octane is at a very expensive price at 10,000, I would go out of them and say I would avoid him at all costs. I don't think he's going to do all that great against the London Royal Ravens. I mean, I might be wrong because out of all the teams in the CDL, theoretically speaking, based on the leaderboards, they should have a better time or a better chance of winning a series against the London Royal Ravens. So this is one of those matches where, I don't want to say firmly stay away from any player. So I take that back. You could pay 10K for Octane at the flex position and, have your money, you know, you know, pay itself off, like have that investment in Octane pay itself off. But honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I do feel like Paul X is a very good player and Afro as well. And based on what we saw in the series against the LA Gorillas, I do feel like they were starting to get something going there, and I do feel like they're gonna have what it takes to beat the Seattle Surge team. Um, if we look at Paul X, he's a little expensive right now, 9,600. I don't think he should be this expensive because he hasn't posted a 100 fantasy point game in a minute. But with that being said, I do feel like he has helped the London Royal Ravens a lot. Afro had a monster game the previous series. This one against the LA Gorillas, his price actually skyrocketed from $6,000 flat at the flex position to what is it at now? 7,600 for the flex position. So that's 1,600 gain. He posted 138 fantasy points against the LAG. At 7,600, he was fairly inconsistent the past 3 games before this match. So, I don't know if that price hike is justified. I know he got a good stat line against the LA Gorillas, but that might have been a fluke. You never know. I never like betting on a one-offs because you never know if it was a fluke or not. I rather not ride that hype train than I rather get burned by it and not chase it. That's what I'm just saying. We haven't seen enough from him to know if he's a consistent player or not. But with that being said, if you want to take a chance on the London Royal Ravens, I would say that for the price, Afro would have to be your bet here. Afro would have to be your bet because, he showed it. You're going to take a gamble if you get him at 7,600. You're going to get a gamble, but it's going to pay off if he throws another game like that. Gets another game like that, monster match. It's going to pay off. That gamble is going to pay off. As far as Shawnee, he's also too expensive for my liking. All these players are all too expensive. Paul X, Shawnee, Alex is trash. I don't even look at Alex ever. I don't think Alex has ever had like a good game. He's had a couple good games, but that's exaggerating. But I just don't feel like he contributes a lot to the team. Every time I look at his stat line, he's always negative. But with that being said, I do feel like this game is going to go to the London Royal Ravens somehow, and it's going to be a 3-0. Might not target this game, but if you are going to target, I would say Gunless would be the cheapest one I would go for in the Seattle Surge, and Afro would be the only one that I would go for, other than Paul X. Paul X against Seattle might be a good pick at 9,600. Just saying, but especially if they get a 3-0. So yeah, Paul X might be good. Um, if they get a 3-0, London Royal Ravens is going to be a good value, especially Afro. Um, but Paul X, Afro, or Gunless would be my picks here. Yeah, that's what I think about this match. With that being said, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be between the Dallas Empire and the Optic Chicago. So, Dallas are coming off of a victory from the Florida Mutineers against the Florida Mutineers, the red hot Florida Mutineers. And as we can see here, uh, you know, they got smoked in the search and destroy, and this is very apparent here that Dallas isn't a good search and destroy team. Uh, Something that Optic is a little bit better at. Um, Dallas Empire beat them in the hard point, beat Florida in the hard point. First hard point got smoked in the search and control, and in express. They got smoked in the control, and they won the hard point in Apocalypse, and they won the last SND. Now, for those of you who remember, the last time that these two teams faced off, uh, Optic 3-0'd the Dallas Empire in an embarrassing fashion. As you can see here, the last time that the last time that they played Chicago Dallas Empire, they lost 0-3 in an embarrassing fashion. Dallas, I feel like they've been getting more of the rhythm with Vivid. I guess they're starting to, get more chemistry together. As of right now, the record stands at 27 versus 21 in hardpoint, 22 and 22 wins and losses in search, dead even, and in control they are slightly negative at 14 and 17 respectively. So I do feel that Dallas Empire are getting a little bit better. They're getting back on track. Letting go of Huke was a big thing for them, and they basically had to start from zero again because they had to drop Philo, the player who was with them. So they had to basically change the team twice. So I feel like they're barely starting to get into rhythm. I do feel confident that this isn't going to be a 3-0 again by the by the Optic Chicago. I do feel it's not going to be a 3-0. But I am not confident that Dallas is going to win this game. With that being said, the Bovada lines are sitting at the time of recording this video at minus 200 for Optic Chicago, being the favorites here in this matchup. And this is honestly due to the fact that Optic has been looking good. Other than their blunder against the Seattle Surge, they have been looking good. They absolutely destroyed, and I mean destroyed, the LA Thieves. And I do believe that right here in the control, they had one of the quickest, I believe it was one of the quickest offensive maps in CDL history, or like in general, like in all the games. I think it was the fastest round ever, the most dominant attacking round ever, offensive round ever in control, and that was against the Thieves. And as you can see here by the scoreboard, Huke was going 4-11. Huke was going 4-11 at one point. LA Thieves were getting 100 point clubbed. TJ Halley was also going 4-11. It's safe to say that Hugh and TJ Halley were probably fucking up here. It was probably their fault. I mean, they're going both 4-11, 5-11. Like, they were slacking. But Optic Chicago, that's what they do to teams whenever they're on point. Whenever they're on point with their rotations, when their comms are on check, that's what they do to teams. They make players like Hook go 4-11 for the better part of the match, But with that being said, I really do think Optic are the superior team than Dallas right now, and the odds do reflect that. So if I would have to target this match, I do feel like there are a couple valuable plays here in this scenario. I would say that Scump at 8,000 has shown that he has good upside against Dallas. For some reason, he really does, show out in the games against Dallas. Um, I'm looking through the I'm looking through the DraftKings logs, and Scump's match against Dallas isn't appearing for some reason. DraftKings, get your shit together. But the previous times that he faced Dallas, he's done well, and he did well against Dallas again when they 3-0'd them, of course. So everybody in this team did very good in their previous match against each other. I would say that Formal at 8,400 is a good pick in my opinion. Formal, uh, beast AR, and he's on a 2 game streak of 100 fantasy plus point games, and I do feel like Formal is a decent play. Dashi as well at 9,200 I feel is a very good play as well. Dashi has been looking like he's starting to gain his form ever since like stage 2 that he dropped off. He started slacking. I feel like he's regaining that momentum. He's had, for the first time in a while, he's had 100 plus fantasy point games in a row for the first time in, I think, a couple of months. Well, not a couple of months, but like since stage 2. So, he's doing pretty good right now. So I think Dashi at 9,200 would honestly be my pick here if I had to target Optic Chicago against the Dallas Empire. With that being said, looking at the Dallas Empire side of things, playing devil's advocate here, if I would have to play somebody on this side, I'm automatically going to look at Vivid. I feel like at some point, Vivid being the cheapest player for this team is going to, he's going to explode at some point. He's going to help his team, do good for once. Against the New York Subliners, he posted 120 fantasy points. So that was the first game that he really, really did good for Dallas. So that's what I'm looking at him. I'm looking for him to start feeling confident, and people not really targeting him because they haven't been used to targeting him since he hasn't been doing too great. So he has shown for the past 3 games that he's been getting close to paying off that value, and he's paid off that value greatly in the game against New York Subliners. So I would say that at 11,100 in the cap position, Vivid might be a good play if this goes to a game 5 or if Dallas wins. I do feel like Vivid is a good he's giving me a good vibe, like that he's going to be a good play here at that price, and at 7,400 as well. I feel like he could be a good price if this goes to game 5, with a lot of kills, of course. Shotzi, I'm not targeting him at 9,400. I just feel like Shotzi against Chicago also hasn't really, performed. Shotzi has been doing great in the past 3 fantasy in fantasy points department. In the past 3 games, he's had upwards of 100 fantasy plus fantasy point games. I do feel like Shotzi though can be inconsistent, and at that price, I'd rather pick a player like Dashi, for example. At Illy's price, I'd rather go with Vivid. Illy is a great player as well. Same exact price as Vivid, mind you, but I just feel like Vivid, has been looking a little bit better as of recent. Crimsix, not touching him. He hasn't really been doing too great. And Crimsix is rather inconsistent as well. And I don't like him against Optic at all. I never do. But yeah, those are the the players I would look at or I would target. Team positions here. Both of these are in play. Obviously, Optic Chicago are at 30,400. Dallas is at 2,400. I think this could go either way. I would like Dallas to win because I'm a Texas native. I want to support Dallas Empire here, but Optic Chicago are just a superior team on paper right now. But they lost to Seattle Surge, so who knows, man. But yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen. I say Optic Chicago 3-2. Could it go either way though? I could have Dallas Empire 3-2. I think this is gonna go down to the wire to a game 5. So that's what I'm going to say about this matchup. Vivid and Dashy stand out to me on this matchup. And with that being said, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be the New York Subliners against the Minnesota Rocker. So, like I said for at the beginning of the video, New York unfortunately has to substitute one of their players, Asim. That being Asim because he got stuck in Canada, as you guys know, the whole C-19 um, travel restrictions across the countries, into the United States. He can't attend the in-person LAN that's going to be taking place for stage 4, which is going to be on LAN for the first time in this season. So he won't be able to make it for this series. So they had to pick up Decimate, which was a substitute player from the Seattle Surge that you know left the team. So they subbed him with him. So I'm not going to be looking at like stats of New York or anything. I'm going to be assuming New York is going to look like a new team. Obviously, New York Subliners is a very dominant team, but that is when they have Asim. Now, having a new player in the lineup might either be just as good, better, or make the team very bad. And I am inclined, based on Decimate's performance with the Seattle Surge, I am very inclined to believe that the New York Subliners are going to take a hit to their performance. I don't think they're going to do all that well, but if they do, Decimate isn't even in the Draftkings lineup pool, so he isn't even an option to have as a player. So, with that being said, I do have one player that I am looking at here in this position that really stands out, and I would say that would be Clayster at 7,800. It feels like Clayster got his price chopped down significantly in the past couple of weeks. Yes, he hasn't been too consistent, but he got 299 fantasy point games in a row, so I'll count those as 100 fantasy point games. So I would say that at 7,800, Clayster, I would say he's at a very, very good price here against a team that New York Subliners is favored to win. Now, like I said, this might be a different looking New York Subliners since they got a new player in the roster right now, but still, man, the core of the team is there, so it might not be too much of a difference. Clayster is a beast, and I think that his price has been chopped down too much at 7,800. I really think Clayster is honestly going to be one of the most valuable players here on the slate. With that being said, Mac and Hydra also, I like them as players. I just don't know Mac. I feel like Mac, even though he's been blowing up as of recent, I think I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but I think that at some point he's gonna not be as performing as consistently as he was for the past five matches that they've had. But with other than that, I just feel like Hydra and Clayster here are the two players that I would target in this position. If you don't want to pay 9,800 for Hydra, but you just want to be like more exposed to them, to the New York Subliners, I would say Clayster and Mac. That would be a good combo. Because granted, Clayster has been doing good, and Mac as well. At 8,600, Mac wouldn't be a bad price tag, or he wouldn't be a bad play if he met the value that he's been smashing for the past couple weeks. With that being said, on the Minnesota Rocker side, I always go straight to Priesta because I feel like Priesta always brings a lot of value to the Minnesota Rocker. I feel like he's an overlooked player, and at 7,200 and at 10,800 for the captain spot, I feel like if this match goes even to a game 5, Priesta always puts up good numbers if series go to game 5, and he always provides that value at the captain position, at a position where nobody expects to have Priesta. He always delivers. Priesta and Clayster are my two favorite plays here in this matchup, and I do feel like Minnesota Rocker are going to take this to a game five as well. I do think New York might win though. I still think they have enough to beat out Minnesota Rocker, but you know that's if Decimate plays even averagely. Like if he plays average, I do feel like they got what it takes to still beat the Rocker. New York Subliners are slightly favored now, minus 140 because of the roster change. If they had a seam still, I feel like they would be way heavier favorites. But we have to wait and see. Um, I'm still not comfortable targeting too many players here from the Minnesota Rocker. I would say that Standy at $10,000 is still a little bit too expensive. He hasn't really been that consistent. There are other plays in the slate that would make more sense than him. So I would honestly only say, in my opinion, I think Priest is the best value here. Um, Attach hasn't really been posting upwards of 100 fantasy point games, so I wouldn't look at him at that price tag specifically either, especially against this team, the New York Subliners. But yeah, with that being said, Preset, Clayster, Mac, probably best values here. And yeah, I think this is going to go to a 3-1 to the New York Subliners. And with that being said, let's move on to the very last match of the day. And all four of these matches are going to be on the same day, by the way. The last match is going to be between the LA Thieves and the LA Gorillas, the battle for LA. So as we saw here previously, the LA Thieves got absolutely smoked by Optic, and the LA Gorillas got absolutely smoked by the London Royal Ravens. Now, Optic is a much better team than the London Royal Ravens, so I am inclined to believe that LA Thieves won't let this happen against the Gorillas. I do think they are going to bounce back against that, terrible lapse of gameplay, lapse of judgment that they had against Object Chicago. The way they got dominated, I know that was just insane, but I do feel like they're going to, come back, show what they really got. Hugh is going to have a good game in my opinion, as well as Slasher, Kenny. I feel like here in this position, Huke is a solid play. I feel like he's going to want to post a better game than what he posted, this previous game. He posted 51 fantasy points. That is a dud and a half. But, I feel like he might come back strong here in this next one. I know Huke, and I know he's a player who can bounce back hard from a loss like this. And from a performance like this, I think Hugh and Slasher, or Hugh and Kenny, are probably the best plays here for the LA Thieves. I always look at Kenny because he seems to be the most, reliable player here for the LA Thieves in the past couple series. He seems to be the most consistent. Slasher posted an even worse game at 31 fantasy points. Um, he posted a good fantasy pointage against the Minnesota Rocker, but that was against the Minnesota Rocker. He posted 127 fantasy points, so he did do good, but then, they had a terrible match against Optic. I do think all these players are going to bounce back here. I'm looking at Hugh at 10,400, 15,600 as well in the captain position. I would have him there. I would have the LA Thieves team position here as well at 3,800. I do feel like LA Thieves are going to win this 3-1. LA Gorillas, are the one team also that I do look at, whenever people count them out. I really do think that, the only player here worth targeting, in my opinion, for me personally, is Apathy at the captain position. Capathy. Yeah, I might as well call him Capathy, but Apathy, he posts a lot of good points. He's consistently high enough to to where he's not really that good at a flex position, but at the captain position, he almost always gives you more than 100 fantasy points. In that captain position, he's consistently high enough in points to where he can get you upwards of 120 or of 100, anywhere from 120 to 140, and that will be like exceeding his, meeting his value good. So Apathy, Hugh, and Kenny would probably be my only picks here in this matchup. And I would look at the LA Thieves team position. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all the games that we're going to be having here. If you like the content, remember, leave a like, leave a dislike if you'd like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so these videos can get out to you quick and you can watch them quick, because they are time sensitive information. This is betting information and speculation and opinions and analysis on games that are about to happen, usually within the day. So get in quick, leave your input quick so we can all make safe and or not safe but reliable, and informative decisions on where we put our money for DFS betting. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.